In the past, I've asked a friend of mine, I said, do you, when you hear English, do you hear English process in your own language and then give it back in English? And my friend, she said, no, not anymore. So initially when English was English is her second language, but when she initially began learning English, when she was a little child, she had to go through a process of hearing it in English and then processing it in her language, thinking it through in her language, and then processing it for English and then giving it back in English to communicate. And that process takes too long. And when I was learning Spanish, I had to do that. And this is why I could understand Spanish, but I wasn't able to speak it fast enough, because I'm like, that is jacking up the continuity of the conversation. I need to process it and in English, translate it into Spanish, and then pronunciate and enunciate and send it back to you in Spanish. That's like doing way too much. So my theory is, as an African, do you aspire? Are you motivated? Do you think in African? We've been living in this environment and we process, aspire, think, and we reach in a way within the prism of this cultural identity and landscape under which falls in oppression, in an oppressive processor. And I realize this, that I don't believe that we do, because I have had conversations with our people, and the feedback or the ideas or the experiences that we have, we are extremely committed to processes that are from this experience, because it's sad and it's a fearful experience to be thinking for something and looking for an answer and not finding it. And if you're thinking and processing in African, you may not have an answer because it's not available from within the oppressive concepts that we have had now for hundreds, even thousands of years. So to aspire in African may mean, one, to design African. Because Africa is not a Africa. Africa has been carved up and is now 54 countries within the huge continent of Africa. So when I say African, think in African, I don't mean one. I don't mean the continent of Africa is one. I mean the continent of Africa is one place, but I mean a theory of African cultural consciousness, despite the subcultures and tribes and different ethnic groups, etc., there is a way to unify a concept of African. It's been called Pan-African, and that's what we have had. But the concepts and thoughts of Pan-African have not reached the corners of the world. All African people have not committed to Pan-Africanism. So what I'm meaning when I'm saying African, I'm meaning a collective agreement, corner to corner, of a set of tenets and value systems that come along with a culture, behavior that guides our basic thought processes across the globe. And with those faculties, we can then aspire, we're motivated, and we prospect our future in African. And that is where I see the breakdown. There are many scholars that see this particular circumstance. So the question that I put to us across the diaspora is, who do we need to be as a global community? One, do we think that it's important for us to be a global community? That's a question. It's rhetorical. The reality of it is, we need to be a global community, because other groups are global communities. You can't mistreat individuals from other groups without knowing that somebody is going to stomp through here as Mama Bear. That country is going to show up as Mama Bear and handle some business. That is not true. for Africans. And that is because there is so many intrusions on our commitment and our decisiveness and rigidity around this commitment. Because the bottom line is we have accepted the mark of the beast in our minds and in our right hands. That has become our God. What is the mark of the beast? To be continued. It's a laundry list of metaphoric things that we could look at that we as a community across the globe have decided was more important than our collective, unified identity and concept. That it has intruded upon our capacity to act and behave and forge forward in a manner of success. Another example is we have situations within our community where we are all, whatever level, academics, education, finance, every African on the planet, across the globe, no matter what bells and whistles, ribbons and clap it ups is, whatever reputation or experience or whatever platform. If you can think of an African, if you're hearing this video, you're on TikTok, you have a capacity. If you know any African that you can think of that you feel is so successful in this reality at this time, it's 2024, that person is in prison. That person is in shackles. That person is shackled. Okay? Every African, because of the circumstances and situations, no matter in what varying degree, is shackled. Why? Because if you cannot think, aspire, and are motivated in African, in your identity, then you are chained to something other than yourself. You can't tell me what my identity is. I'm not telling you what your identity is. The divine already did that. That's how you were born. And I'm working with the mathematics and the basic analysis and science of it all. I'm working with the strength. And the strength is in how the divine already designated you. Now, you can run from that. You can hide from that. You can elude and you can try to hide to find safety or cajole yourself or turncoat or Cunarian or whatever you choose to do is totally up to you. However, the divine already gave you a designation, and that's just the bottom line. So here's my metaphor. We're in chains, and Africans are chewing off the legs of other Africans that they are chained to so that they can get free. That's what's happening. Everybody's chewing off somebody else's legs so they can get free. And then guess what? You free with a chain hanging on one of your legs, but you free. And then you get to the next leg of this race, and you know what happened? You can't move the door because you by yourself. You needed to make sure that the rest of these Africans can come with you so that we can reach the next leg of this race. So this is why when you see one of us over there, little climb up, little clap at us, this little awards, little bells and ribbons, it doesn't really matter. This is why they have no power, because you need the rest of these Africans to come with you to help push down the next level of the labyrinth so you can get through. And that takes the long tail theory and a momentary sacrifice. Now, for other groups, if I look at some of the other groups, their momentary sacrifice was 30, 40, 50 years. Their momentary sacrifice was 30, 40, 50, 60 years. I've looked at other groups. I see other groups who in the same amount of time. So then I have to do an assessment and say, well, what is hindering us? And those other groups, many of them, now that's barring the groups that got help. Okay, the groups that got help in the 50s, 60s years, they don't count. Okay, I'm talking about the groups that started from zero. And in 50, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, which is where some of our African countries are starting from zero, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, 180 years ago, starting from zero. What is impeding us from getting to that next level of unity and success? What is it? These are the things that I think about literally every single day. This is just about all that dominates my brain. These and finding solutions. And I got a ton of them. But the point is, people make things happen, and people don't make things happen. We, the people, have to decide that we're going to choose to participate. We're going to choose to receive new information, and then we're going to choose to change our behavior with that new information, having informed our action steps moving forward. We have to choose to forego momentary pleasure and say, if I'm going to sacrifice, then I'm going to sacrifice, and my sacrifice is going to matter. It's something that I learned and that I teach as a tool in econ, and that's the long tail theory. So you want to know how do other groups, not just one of them, I'm talking about entire groups. I go right here and I see Chinatown, and I see a huge awning with and I go over there and I see little India, and I see huge, their representation of their culture, collective cultural identity. Now, there are always subcultures within this group, but as a whole, the way that they speak to the world is a unified group. And that unified group speaks to the world like this. And this is how they are able to garner the self-respect and the dignity. And guess what? You don't have to give me dignity. I already have it. And my people, we have it. And we expect for you to engage with us this way. So we as African people, we try to say we got things. So because we got things, that means that you have to respect us. But you have the things that your shackles gave you. You don't have anything that belongs specifically to you. And the one thing the most powerful thing that divine did give to you as your powerful tool is that melanation. And you are denying it. So you put a costume on and you want to have mattering because you're wearing a costume. And the matrix continues to deny you mattering because that's not how you matter. So how are we going to get past that? How are we going to get past our people and their short-sightedness and them constantly, because the illness and the pain that we have experienced as a people is so severe that all most of us want to do is get a moment of fucking peace. Just a moment of freaking peace. And sometimes that moment of freaking peace means trading on the people. That's what they do. They go snow bunny hopping, snow puppy hopping. They go over there, they trade off. They take a little slide here. They manipulate. They chewing off the brothers and sisters. You chewing off your brother's knee. You chewing off your brother's arm. You chewing off your brother's foot. Taken from other people that are in the same shackles as you. Just to call yourself getting to a moment of peace. Instead of doing the personal work for your own healing. This is why when you hear people say slavery was a choice, that's why they're saying that. There's literally an analysis associated with it. No, not the part when they went over there and they brought us over here in chains. The part where we are in 2024 and yet still in chains. That's a choice. That part is a choice. Because as a collective, that could not be just like that. I was thinking about, I wonder what could Africa create if Africa didn't allow those people to come over here and take that thing, and they were in the free market, or forget the free market. If they were among themselves using that thing to improve the lives of their people. Suppose we didn't sit there like this and just watch other people come in here and build up castles in my house and tell me I can't come. These are things that I think about every day by way of developing solutions, because I'm a solution-based thinker. There has to be a solution because I see problems. I see a need for improvement. I see that the road is crooked. And what I get out of that process is I get to be in a safe space with other Africans, not trying to chew off my foot. I get to be happy and overjoyed by African people having dignity and self-respect. I get to be in a space of equal, powerful beings with the divine birthright. We kings and queens. Well, guess what? If you first, you first. Yeah, that's your crown on. Crown on. Hit me with it. Crown on. First Nation people behaving as if we just feeling around in the dark for a light switch. It's just bizarre to me. And I keep trying to figure out, just basic science says that necessity is the mother of all creation. We need so bad, but do we know we need? Because we're not creating. We're not creating the repair of African identity, African mind, African values, African behavior. And just be clear, so we know that the historical line wasn't a utopia. So there was some things back there because somebody had to teach these things to other people. So that means that there needs to be a cleansing and a organizational restructuring that needs to happen with all the facets and functions within the body or within the organization. If we want to put it in a way that makes it actionable. The African global landscape